look back at last weekend now, having given it a day and maybe some video, what kind of things did you take away that maybe weren't obvious from our first look or from looking behind the bench that you say, here's something we can build on, here's something we can, maybe tweak a little bit and work on?
I thought our progress from Saturday to Sunday on our exits, us breaking pucks out, I thought we were a bit cleaner. If you remember on Saturday when the puck dropped, went from our tape to their tape a couple of different times, and it was great that Mac was on his game to allow us to not play from behind, or at least be even. So our exits, I thought our 5-on-5 play got better over the weekend. And, no power play goals. We score 7 on the weekend. That's a good number for us, if that's something we can replicate on the 5-on-5 piece. And then obviously, I think the things that screams penalty killing was pretty good, and most of the time, your best penalty killer has to be your goaltender, and he was. But I thought our penalty killers did a pretty good job too. And then things we need to work on is just, not blowing a toe off, not hurting ourselves and making the game more difficult through our lack of discipline, through not executing on the power play. Our team, I think, is going to be built through its depth. And so for us to be good depth-wise, our power play needs to go out and execute. We need to stay out of the box so we can utilize our depth. But there's a few positives in there that I've addressed and a few negatives.
There were, I'll double check statistically, but it seemed like a lot of guys were getting opportunities, even though it may not have resulted in, goals. And I guess I'm wondering, one, what you think of just, the balance you had in terms of guys getting opportunities and shots. What did you think of that, and what do you attribute maybe that balance to?
Well, when we talked about what our team's going to be comprised of, strengths, weaknesses, when we started the season, we were hoping we'd be able to utilize our depth at forward. And I think you saw that where we, the first night we had a couple of young guys step up and score some goals for us, make some impact. William Whitelaw didn't get on the score sheet as far as goals, but he had opportunities. I think he had 6 shots on net. And then the next night, you see, Owen Lindmark step up and have a big night. He ends up getting an empty netter, but he had 3 points. Carson Bantle show himself very well. For us to be successful and for you to get sweeps on a weekend, you need different guys to step up at different times. So that group that we were hoping we could lean on showed themselves in our first 2 games. And then, we've just got to make sure we're getting better at staying connected. You saw a lot of times our passes went from our goal line to the far blue line. That's a lot harder to execute than it is from our goal line to the top of the circles or hash marks. So we're trying to become a bit more connected, tighter, so we can be in support, so we can possess the puck a little bit more. And then I thought in the offensive zone, we need more puck possession time. We had quite a few one-and-dones where we got a puck, somebody came and defended us, and it went the other way. So we're going to work on that this week.
First road trip of the year. We kind of talked about this a little bit during media day, but what do you think, the guys that you have going on a road trip together do bonding-wise, chemistry-wise, and hopefully, build this team up even more?
Well, first of all, when you go on the road, it actually is a business trip. We've got a lot of work to go and get done, but that doesn't mean after we get our work done on Thursday, and as we're enjoying the opportunity to pull the sweater over their shoulders on Friday and Saturday, you can't enjoy it. You better. Fewer distractions on the road. I'm hoping we can rely as a group on the guys that have been there before. We've got some guys in that locker room, I would say quite a few that are pretty familiar with Bemidji, whether it's a couple years ago from this program or whether it's the guys that have come over from MSU. And what we know is Bemidji never beats himself. They're going to be a difficult out, and we know what North Dakota is at home. So, yeah, we'll enjoy the opportunity to go on the road and spend some time together, but at the end of the day, we've got some things we need to accomplish on the road if we're going to come back a group that's better than when they left.
Can you get into some specifics of what sort of shown the needed to impress you through training camp to earn a spot in at least what's on the line chart, top 6, and get those kind of minutes?
Yeah, I'm trying to learn through opportunity also. The one thing that I thought he brings is just a tremendous amount of honesty in his game. Every single day when he gets to the rink, he's got purpose. If he's in the weight room, he's accomplishing something. Watching him with his demeanor around the locker room, he prepares real well. Seeing him after a practice or after a workout, he does his business so that he's recovered so that he can go at it again the next day. We need some of that substance. Now, I think throughout the weekend I also learned a little bit. I thought Saturday was a little bit better than Sunday for him. And that, as a freshman coming into the program and given that opportunity, I'm sure there was a little bit of the butterflies in the stomach as he was going through that process, but thought he handled it well on Saturday and maybe not as well on Sunday. But just the intangibles that he gets to control, I thought were always buttoned up from the time that we've gotten to camp till now.
For you, it was a long off season, just waiting for that first weekend here as the head coach. Is it nice just to come away with the sweep? I know it's a long season, but just looking back, you feel pretty happy with how you started the season?
Yeah, you know us, we're kind of grumpy people for the most part when you talk about coaches because they, it seems like we're never satisfied. That's one thing I wanted to make sure when we left the locker room on Sunday. We're always looking to the things that maybe we didn't do well, and as a coaching staff, we need to accentuate some of the positives. For us to be able to go out together, defend our home ice back-to-back nights, no matter who it's against, no matter what time of the season, it's hard to win in college hockey and to do it consistently. So for us to string those first two together, yep, big positive. It was great for it to finally get here. The guys that were happier in that locker room, the guys that were playing, they'd been waiting a long time for that. We started September 6th. For them to be able to get out and play in front of their friends, family, and fans and have some success. We had some growing pains, positively, negatively, but for the most part, it was a really good weekend for us.
Kind of going off that, on Saturday when McIntosh was in there and you fought first win at Wisconsin, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but just what was that moment like, getting kind of that first one and just, the celebration in the locker?
It was one, very appreciative of Mac being there and doing that and the guys' reaction, but more importantly is we had a lot of different guys have firsts. Myself, our staff being one of them, but seeing our guys grow together and seeing them appreciate maybe some things we didn't know was going to happen. Nobody knew Quinn Finley was going to have 2 in his first game. Or William Whitelaw had the impact that he had. We've been asked in this room and previously a lot about our goaltending. And to see Kyle step up and do what he did on Saturday and then rinse and repeat and do it on Sunday, all those are real special moments. And they're growing parts for our program. And so we appreciate them. We understand them and then move on. But it was a really good weekend for us, and now we've got to turn the page and focus on what's in front of us.
Has Kyle changed the story a little bit or at least what's happening in practice, what he's doing, what he did last weekend? Is that changing some of the outlook for what you're looking at goalie? Who plays when? Who plays, does William get a shot at some point? How does that change things?
I think two sides of that. Terrible way to answer, but yes and no. Yes, it does in the idea that I think he grew in the minds of his coaching staff, his teammates. How he handled himself throughout the entire weekend, I thought was pretty unique, especially for a guy that maybe had a little bit of a rough go here a year ago. So yes, it changes that because he went out and earned it, and that's what you need to do at this level and any level above. Then the second part is we're going to be a work in progress for the entire season. And so you can't get so short-sighted and look in your rearview mirror, something's going to hit you in the front of your car, right? So we've got to keep going on us progressing. And Graham's had a really good, he didn't do anything wrong this weekend. What I noticed is on Sunday, it was almost like we needed him to take a break because even though he hadn't played, he had done an awful lot of work, and talking to Coach Murdoch, he just said, hey, is it okay if Grammer skips that extra workout today? And I said, absolutely. So we're still a work in progress, but I like what Kyle did. He took a ball, ran with it. Now we need to make sure that if he's the guy that's supposed to go on Friday, he will. Or if Grammer does his job and pushes the coaching staff to make it be a difficult decision, that's what it will be.
Along those lines now, after Kyle got the shutout on Friday, did that change your thinking, like going into night 2, like were you initially thinking, hey, maybe you give, Graham, I don't want to
Graham,
pronounce
yep.
his name, Graham, okay. Were you thinking you would give Graham an opportunity that second night, but Kyle was hot and you just said, hey, let's see what he does?
A great question, and yeah, it changed my mind. One reason I try not to have a preconceived idea what's going to happen. Throughout my career, I've been able to see some good things and bad things. I've seen a guy get a hat trick one night, and the next night he's scratched, and as a player, that's hard to figure out. If you ask your goaltender to go out and he's perfect from the standpoint of nothing goes behind him, I don't know what I would have said to Kyle if I told him he wasn't going to go the next night, other than I'm just going to give Graham his opportunity, which I think Kyle would have been fine with. But we're still in learning about our goaltending, and when Kyle went out and did what he did on Friday night, I thought he earned the opportunity to play again on Saturday. But yes, going into that, it was a little bit more of the mindset of I was looking to give somebody else an opportunity, and Kyle played well enough that he didn't give me that opportunity.
I think when North Dakota's on the schedule, there's a certain amount of Wisconsin fans that perk up a little bit. Is that something you'd like to continue, get them back on the schedule, get them back in this building? I know this season was set up for you beforehand, and maybe some of the parts of future seasons, but can you see a day when you get North Dakota and Denver and some of these old WCHA schools that a lot of these fans remember back on the non-conference schedule? Yeah,
we're right now. I've talked to Bubs about, or Brad about us getting back on their schedule and them on ours. So yeah, we're in communication with that. We're going out to Denver here soon in the next year or two. They've talked about interest in coming back. So yeah, we're looking. What I'm learning in the Big Ten schedule and what has already been committed to with us having the tournament that we have in Milwaukee, we lose a little bit of our flexibility. And so we've got some commitments that we have to deliver on before we can get to that. But yes, that's definitely, we're in conversation with that, and that's a goal of mine for down the road here, that we get back to having some of those people in our buildings and going into their buildings.
Coach, the first win of the year was your 300th in your career. Can you speak to what it means to you to just have such a long and successful career so far as a head coach?
Well, first thing I told my wife, I said, thank God for the people that I've worked with and the players that have come, had an opportunity to coach. They had to go through a lot of, it might be good now. There was a lot of grinding at that time, and it's going to be no different now. So the idea of that is really special, because I think about the players that drove the bus and the people that I've been able to work with over time, and we've talked about some of those people. Been very fortunate with that. So yeah, you address that, but really, we're in a coaching world, and what we're doing today, it's in the now. And again, we've talked about this. We ask the guys to stay on their dailies. We have to do the same thing as a staff, and that's really what we're focused on right now, because I know Bemidji's getting ready for us, and I know North Dakota is also. So we've got a lot of work to. When the season's done, we'll be judged. What was our book of business? And so it was nice to get that done, and very appreciative of it, but we do have to turn the page and move on.
Coming in, obviously, very accomplished player. He's done a lot for you over at Minnesota State. I guess I'm wondering, but that said, he comes in and he's, this alternate captain status. I guess I'm wondering if you can kind of speak to his, how he's kind of handled that transition, and what you've seen that maybe made guys say, hey, even though you're new, you're one of our leaders.
Communicating with the guys and getting their feedback, they're seeing the same thing that myself and our staff are seeing from David every day. He's about as dialed, committed to his dailies as we have. I don't want to say he's got pro habits, but he's close on his nutrition, his recovery. Give you an example, we have yesterday off. And I called back, I'd gone recruiting, and I called back and just touched base with who was in the weight room and who was in there, and David was in there. Now, David played a lot of minutes this weekend. If there was anybody I thought that might take the option, might be David. David didn't take the option. He went in, got a little drip, so he could be prepared for today. And so just his habits and how he goes about his business every day, I think is one of the reasons that you see him wearing a badge, because the guys have recognized that, as our staff has. And he turns the page in a hurry and goes and demands a lot of himself so that he can be prepared for his next opportunity.